My name is Joe Gladu. I work for an Australian software company called CommitWorks. So for those of you that joined the keynote address this morning from Pam Hackett, it was really interesting to hear her talk about some of the challenges that the industry faces with respect to planning and integrated planning. And that's very much what we do at CommitWorks. So I'll paint a picture for you and tell you a little bit about some of the challenges that we help our customers address and what that looks like. So mining, as we know, is a pretty complex business, and mines are very good at planning. I've talked to a lot of mine managers and a lot of general managers, and a lot of them will say, we're really good at planning, but sometimes we're not great at the execution. So let's try to look at why that tends to be a challenge for us. And it really comes down to this picture that you see here. Lots of really good tools for planning across different disciplines or different silos or different processes across the organization. But the challenge becomes, how do you tie all these plans together? And how do you connect those plans and get them down to a level of detail, from a life of mine plan to an annual plan, monthly plan, down to a daily or a shift-by-shift basis? Therein lies, I think, one of the challenges and one of the opportunities. So if you look at the picture, what you see here is some great tools, and we don't displace any of those tools. We rather work with those tools to try to address this fundamental challenge. And if we dive a little deeper, and if you look at the specific tools, the area in which they address the problem or attempt to address the problem, you still see that we've got this big gap here, right? This little area right here, when we get down to that daily, hourly, shift-by-shift basis. So in 2019, here's the tools that are used to close that gap. Spreadsheets and whiteboards, and lots of paper. And we all know the challenges for those that are in operations. We understand the challenges of maintaining several dozen spreadsheets, and the problem with trying to get the realities of the shift back into those whiteboards on a timely basis to really drive that cycle of continuous improvement to make sure that we have a better shift on that next shift. So here's a typical planning department. For the operators in the room, you'll recognize this. You can pick any mine site on the planet. This is typically what you see. So if we summarize that, we talk to our customers about what those problems are. This is what they tell us, is despite the fact that we've got really wonderful tools, we still have all these silos of planning. And collaborating and getting all of those silos onto a single plan visible to the entire operation remains a challenge, right? So we spend a lot of time trying to connect these plans through spreadsheets and whiteboards, and it's not a very eloquent solution. It's very manually intensive and not terribly effective. So part of that challenge is really a weak compliance to plan, not only from a scheduling perspective, but from a spatial perspective. So are we chasing tons, or are we chasing the right tons in the right areas? That's really what we should be doing. Our friends at Proudput talked a little bit about the correlation with planned work and safety. And we've also worked with some of our investors on conducting similar studies and come to the same conclusion that planned work is 10 times safer than unplanned work, simply because people are prepared for the job that they need to execute. So part and parcel of what contributes to these challenges, really weak communication across those different processes, those different disciplines. Often we see a culture of blame. Engineering built this great plan, but the guys on the ground don't think that they can execute that plan, and vice versa. And overall, really poor accountability for results. So front and center to the problem is this poor frontline supervisor for the respective process that has to factor in all of these variables in terms of lining up their crews to go and execute the work that they're planned to do. It's a lot of information to keep in mind, and they don't always have that visibility across the whole of mine in terms of what might impede their ability to execute their plan. So this is where Fusion comes into play. So Fusion is a software platform that was built for Anglo American about 8 years ago. Our founder was an operational excellence consultant that did a lot of MOS consulting, or management operating system consulting, and built a lot of spreadsheets and whiteboards. And he met a software developer that Anglo had hired that attempted to digitize a lot of these tools and build something better, something that was a bit more conducive to solving those problems. And a product called Fusion was born. So Fusion really is a solution that allows you to connect your monthly plans down to a daily or weekly, daily, shift-by-shift, and hourly basis. It really provide better visibility in terms of what needs to go on across the whole of mine, how we're progressing against that plan, and really collect data that allows us to get our actuals in the system and drive really good discussions around the variances and our ability to achieve the plan. It's really about getting everybody working on the same page. So, what are the benefits? Much better coordination, much better visibility, reduce that process variability, improve safe production because all of the work that is being done is planned, and we have contingency plans if we can't execute one particular plan. That should elevate our safety performance, reduce our cost by reducing the variability and driving out a lot of the inefficiency. And if we do that well, then it allows us to enable this cycle of continuous improvement of plan, do, check, act, and make sure that the next shift is always our best shift. So this is really where we want to get to. So if you look at that operational systems map and you look at the silos, again, we don't want to displace the incumbent tools that you have. They're great tools that are very specific and do a great job within their respective processes. We want to bridge the gap and get rid of spreadsheets and whiteboards. Provide a platform that allows us to connect all those different silos together. So, the result of that is we take that poor frontline supervisor and we arm them with a much better plan because the plan factors in all of those variables, provides that supervisor with a visibility in terms of what other processes, what other departments, what's happening on the roster, who showed up, what contractors are on site that may affect their ability to execute what they need to do. So we want to go from this and this to something that looks a little bit more like this. And this is a customer installation at a pre-shift coordination meeting where we've got all the frontline supervisors all gathering around their plan, talking about their plan for the day, identifying any potential interactions, and then agreeing on how they're going to go and execute their respective work. So if we do that, we do it well, and this is what we've seen with pretty well every one of our installations, one of our customers, is they've been able to increase their safe production in the range of 15 to 52%. It really depends where the constraint lies, but this is generally what we see as an outcome. Improvement in their compliance to plan from a scheduling and a spatial perspective. Significant reduction in their process variability, and therein lies the opportunity. Let's drive out a lot of that waste and make sure that we're not wasting that shift, that we can always get the best out of that shift that we can, even if things change. Increase our planned versus non-planned work. There's a correlation with safety and reducing LTIs. The compelling thing for a lot of our clients is we can deliver an ROI in weeks. So just a couple of quick graphs. Talk a little bit about our origins. We're in Australia, in Queensland, in Australia, in cold. And this represents a 6-year period where if you look at the orange line, that represents average production improvement in that subset of coal mines. And it was about 28%. Our customers across that same data set saw an improvement in production of about 64%. And there's a lot of variables that contribute to that, but fundamentally it comes down to better visibility, better orchestration of work, and that just drives better results. Here's a correlation with safety. If you look at the orange line, this is the average number of LTIs over that same demographic, about 7.4 LTIs in a 6-year period. Our customers saw LTIs about 6.14. So again, it's a correlation with planned work being safer, and about 21% improvement in LTIs. And this is one of our deployments here in North America. If you look at the first part of the graph, this is a gold producer. Their average production on a quarterly basis was about 40,000 ounces of gold. Now, this particular client did a number of good things. One, really good leadership. Implemented a management operating system, right? Good process. It supported that MOS with Fusion. So Fusion is the software, the enabling technology that helps support the MOS and drive the right behaviors, provide the platform for capturing that data and driving better insights and better decision making. And the result of that is, first quarter after we went live, they hit 52,000 ounces of gold, and then they sustained 55,000 ounces of gold over the last 2 quarters. So really good improvement, not purely because of the software, because as we heard today, technology is simply an enabler, but it's a combination of people, process, and technology that allowed this client to really get fantastic results. Their guidance is significantly improved on this year versus what their actuals were last year, and you'll see that their cash costs have also come down as a function of driving out a lot of that inefficiency. Here's some of the folks that we work with. So again, we've been around for about 8 years. My role is managing the North American operations. We're at booth number 21, so if anyone wants to unpack the story and come talk to us about how we might help your operation, please come and see us at booth 21. Thank you.